Now I will knit the startup row on my fungus model, and this startup row is from the back side, and my first stitch is a slip-on stitch purlwise with the yarn in front of the yarn, like that. The next stitch is a knit stitch, as you see, a purl stitch. So I'm just been knitting as the stitches appear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. Now I have one stitch from my edge band remaining. This stitch I'm going to knit together with the first stitch on the yoke, the first stitch I picked up, and before that I will place a marker so that I can tell the difference between the edge band and the yoke. Now the next 3 stitches, they are my shoulder stitches, and on a fungus model these 3 shoulder stitches are purl stitches on backside rows, and they are knit stitches on front side rows, meaning that they will be as like a stockinette pattern. Before the first stitch here, I should knit together with the first stitch I picked up, and they should be purled together. So purl 2 stitches together. It's a bit tight. Yes. And now I'm putting another stitch marker here, and now my 3 shoulder stitches that I was talking about is here, and they should be purled. 1, 2, 3. The pattern says purl 3. And now place another stitch marker here. Now the moss stitch pattern begins, and I have to begin with a purl stitch. A moss stitch pattern switches between purl and knit stitches, or knit or purl stitches, which means that I will have to now do purl 1, knit 1 throughout where I'm going to put my shoulder stitches in the other end. And that means that I'll now be doing my moss stitch pattern for 35 stitches. Now I did 35 stitches, purl 1, knit 1, and I will have to, I ended up with a purl stitch. So you have symmetry, I guess it's called. It says, then I'll place my stitch marker, and I have to purl my 3 shoulder stitches. I will place another stitch marker, and now I will purl the last stitch on my of my picked up stitches here together with the first edge band stitch, and this time I will do it through the back loops. So purl 2 stitches together through the back loop. So didn't work out. Now it did, like that, and I will place another stitch marker, and now I will just knit my edge band stitches over to my needle as they appear, as the stitches appear. And that was my startup row. Now I can begin knitting row 1 in my on my yoke, and now I will have to start out increasing stitches on each side of my shoulder, stitches in each side, and also on both front side rows and back side rows. Since I want to change my stitch pattern on every front side row, I will now have to again do a purl stitch right after the shoulder stitches here, and of course I have to increase a stitch here too. I'll show you. See, this appears as a knit stitch. It does that because I was knitting a purl stitch on the other side, on the back side, when I did my startup row. But now I have to break the pattern, so I can't knit a knit stitch. I have to do a purl stitch and then a knit stitch. Then I will change the pattern. Yeah, let me show you. This is row 1. I'll slip the first stitch with the yarn in front of my work, and I will do the same with the next stitch. And then a knit stitch. Nothing needs to be broken or changed here. This has to be ripping all the way on the pattern or on this model. Okay, here I am, my neckband or front band will it be when the yoke gets bigger and these bands go onto the front of the sweater or cardigan. I'm not going to do increases on the front pieces right now, so I'll just slip my stitch marker. This appears now as a knit stitch, but as I told you before, I will have to break the pattern on this side because it's a front side row. I will break the pattern, the stitch pattern, on every front rows. So I will purl this stitch. Now, here is my 3 shoulder stitches. Since I'm on the front side, they should be knitted because my shoulder stitches should end up being a row in stockinette stitch pattern. Now I will have to increase a stitch, and I will do a make one right, and I'll do make one right. It means that it will be right leaning. Make one right. See, this strand leans to the right. Now I'm slipping my stitch marker, and I knit my 3 shoulder stitches. I will slip my stitch marker from one needle to the other, like that. And now I'll be doing a make one left, meaning I'm taking the strand here, and I'll make sure that it will be left leaning. It has direction towards the left. Now, this is my mush stitch pattern, and as I said, it should be broken, that it should be changed now. This is why this knit stitch should be purled. Then purl stitch should be knit all the way like that, all the time breaking the pattern. This is a purl stitch. This is why it should be a knit stitch now, all the way towards my next stitch marker before my shoulder stitches. I will try to hurry. So this is easy to remember. When on front sides, you will never knit the same stitch as you have on your needle. I have a knit stitch. This is why I have to purl. I have a purl stitch, then I will break it, and I will therefore knit the stitch. Now I'm almost there. I'm here at my stitch marker before the shoulder stitches, and I should now be making a right leaning increase in the strand between the 2 stitches, and I'll make sure that it is pointing towards the right side. It is. I'll be slipping my stitch marker, and I will knit my 3 shoulder stitches, slip the stitch marker, and then make a left leaning increase in the strand between the stitches here. Leans toward left. And now this is a knit stitch. This is why it should be purled. And I'll just slip my stitch marker. I'm not going to make any increase on the front piece here on this row, so I'll just continue knitting the stitches from my edge band here as the stitches appear. This is a knit stitch, and I'm going to knit it. This is a purl stitch, I'm going to purl it, etc. And I'm almost there. Here, slip 1 stitch purlwise with the yarn in front of the work and knit a stitch. Now, this was row 1, front side, row 1. Now I will show you how to knit row 2. Now on row 2, backside row 2, you will have to follow the pattern. Follow the pattern in the moss stitch pattern. You will also have to increase stitches around the shoulder stitches, but you will do make one left purl in front here before this shoulder stitches, and make one right purled after the shoulder stitches. I will show you. The first stitch is slip one stitch purlwise with the yarn in front of the work, knit one, purl one, and continue as the stitches appear. Now I still won't have to increase stitches on the front side, so I'll just slip the stitch marker to the right needle. And now on backside rows I will have to follow the pattern. So when I now hit, as you see, I have a knit stitch here, then I will knit it. So it's not breaking. It has been followed. I have made the same stitch as I had on my needle. Here I have a purl stitch, meaning I will have to purl this stitch because I'm not breaking the pattern on my backside rows. Now here I'm at the stitch marker before my shoulder stitches. It means I will have to increase a stitch. This time I will do a make one left purled, and it is like this. I can show you. I take my left needle from the back, put the strand on my left needle. Oh, this was wrong. I put the needle from the front and then I purl through the back loop here and slip stitch marker, purl 3. Remember, the shoulder stitches should be purled on backside rows. Slip the stitch marker, make one right purled. So I'm taking my needle from the back, this time it's right, and then I'll be making a purl stitch. Oops. So yarn and purl like that. And now I have to look here. See, I always look a little forward in my pattern. This is a knit stitch, this is a purl stitch, this must be a knit stitch then, and this is a purl stitch. So I purl, knit, purl, knit, and see, I'm not breaking the pattern. I all the time gain stitches, and I also all the time I have to make sure that these stitches fit into the moss stitch pattern. I have a knit stitch, I'll knit it. I have a purl stitch, I'll purl it. Knit, purl, all the way towards my next stitch marker before the shoulder stitches in the other side. knit stitch, purl stitch, I guess I'm already almost there. I am. Yes. Here. Make one left purled. So this means I'm purling it through the back loop, slipping my stitch marker, purling 3 shoulder stitches, slipping my stitch marker, make 1 right purled, and here I have a purl stitch and a knit stitch, so I'm going to purl this and I'm going to knit the next one, and I'll see here in the other end, look, this is a purl stitch up to my shoulder here, purl knit, last stitch marker, purl knit, last stitch marker. So there's symmetry. And here, this was the stitch I added, and here I have purl knit, and this was the stitch I added, and here I have purl knit. So symmetry. Yes, and no increasing here on the front pieces, so I just slipped my stitch marker, and now I'll be knitting my edge band or front band, I can say, and this was row 2. Yes, and then last 2 stitches or knit stitches here. Yes. Here you see I have a moss stitch pattern doubled in height now. There's only one here, no double stitch this way, but double up here, 2 knit stitches up here. And now I will break the pattern on row 3. So every time I see a knit stitch, I will have to purl it. Every time I see a purl stitch, I'll have to make a knit stitch because I have to break the pattern. Now, remember I did a startup row, then I showed you row 1, startup row 1, then I showed you row 2, and now I'm going to show you row 3. But I did 4 rows, right? Start up, 1, 2, and now 3. So this is, in a way, the 4th row, or it is the 4th row I'm going to show you, but it's named row 3. And on this row, I will increase a stitch just inside the front band here on each side, and I will do that to shape a V-neck. I have to gain more stitches so that it will create this V shape. Otherwise it will just go straight down. So on row 3 you will increase a stitch here and here, here and here, and then you will still increase a stitch around the shoulder stitches, so you will increase in total 6 stitches on this row. I will start my row 3, my front side row 3, by knitting the front band here. That's what I'm calling it now. Now, here is my stitch marker. I'll slip it from left to right needle, and now I'll be making a left leaning increase. Like that, meaning the strand is leaning towards the left, and I'm on a front side row, meaning that I will have to break the pattern. So I have a purl stitch here, I need to knit it. Knit, I have a knit stitch, I need to purl it, and knit. Now I'm here right before the shoulder stitches, and I will have to do a right leaning increase. Like that, and slip stitch marker, knit 3 shoulder stitches, slip stitch marker, a left leaning increase, and now I have to break the pattern. So I'm looking on the stitches on my needle. I start here. Here is a clear knit stitch. So this should be purled, this should be knit, this should be purled, this should be knit. Knit, purl, knit, purl, and see, it all makes sense. I'm breaking the pattern, and I will knit all the way to the next stitch marker before the shoulder stitches on the other side. Three. Here. Now I will do a make one right. I will be slipping stitch marker, knitting 3 shoulder stitches, slipping the stitch marker, make one left, and I will look here. This is a purl stitch, this is a knit stitch, so this knit stitch need to be purled and this need to be knit then, and this purl stitch needs to be knit. And now I'm here, I have to make an increase just right inside the front band, and this should be right leaning, so I'll do make one white, and see, the strand is leaning to the right. I'll slip the stitch marker, then knit, purl, knit, purl as the stitches appear, and now this was slip one stitch purlwise with the yarn in front of the work, knit one. This was row 3. Now I'll have to continue like this. I will knit now 3 more rows. I'll knit a backside row, a front side row, a backside row, and on these rows I will only do increases around the shoulder stitches, and I will be breaking the pattern constantly on my front side rows. I will be following it on the backside rows, and then on my 4th row, a front side row, again I will break the pattern. I will do increases around the shoulder stitches, but I will also do an increase here right after or right before the front band. So on every 4th row, always on a front side row, I will do increases on the front sides too. I just called this row row number 3, and the next row where I will do both increases on the shoulder stitches and on or around the shoulder stitches and inside the front bands, this will be row number 7, then row number 11, row number 15, so always plus 4. Every 4th row do increases both around the shoulder stitches and right inside the front bands. All other rows you will only do increases around the shoulder stitches. Break the yarn on front side row, break the pattern, on front side rows, follow it on back side rows. Always look ahead in the pattern to focus on which stitch to knit, how to knit your stitches. It is not in all patterns where you have to do the increases on the front pieces every 4th row. When you are knitting Fungus Shawl Cardigan Light, you will do the increases on the front pieces on every 6th row. That means you will do your first row with the increases on the front pieces on row 5, the next one on row 11, the next row on row 17. In my Fungus Kimono, you will do only a few increases on the front pieces, and you will wait until the, I'm not sure, I think it's the 23rd row maybe. And on Fungus Cardigan, you'll do the first row with increases on the front pieces on row 9, and then again on row 19, etc.